In Matthew 5 and verse 10, Jesus said, "Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Now, for most people, an immediate contrast, or even contradiction for some, is seen by looking at this verse between the words blessed, which means supremely fortunate, well off, or happy, and the word persecuted, which is primarily or often thought of as something that's negative and to be avoided even at all costs. Now, to help better understand this, let's examine a dictionary definition of the word persecuted and its Bible usage through the teachings of Christ and his apostles. Now, persecution, what is it? Well, one dictionary definition is hostility and ill treatment, especially on the basis of ethnicity, gender, religion, or political beliefs. This, combined with two other explicit word forms, persecute and persecuted, have a total occurrence that varies in Bible translations, 55 times in the King James Version, 38 times in the English Standard Version, but we find that these numbers are effectively much higher considering the use of many synonyms like oppression, victim, mistreatment, abuse, prejudice, favoritism, punishment, torment, harass. But the Bible also includes many contextual examples of persecution, even when the explicit word form or synonyms are not used. For example, Abel faithfully offered a more excellent sacrifice to God than Cain, his brother, and was later killed by Cain out of a heart of anger and jealousy. We find this story in Genesis 4, 1 through 8. We're reminded of it in Hebrews 11 and verse 4. Job faithfully worshiped God even after suffering the trial and affliction of losing all of his children, on top of the loss of his possessions, his wealth, his livelihood, all in a single day. Later, even his own wife persecuted him, telling him to curse God and die. But in all of this, Job did not sin. We find in the parable of the seed sown on the rocky soil, it represents one who immediately hears and receives the word with joy but is unable to endure. One who falls away when tribulation or persecution arises on account of the word, Matthew 13, 20 through 21, also Mark 4, 16 and 17. Well, in the parallel account that's found in Luke 8 and verse 13, we find the phrase used, "in the time of testing." Now, multiple references to faithful Old Testament prophets and messengers of the Lord reveal that they were mocked, they were scoffed, and some were even killed for their faith and their devotion to the Lord. Well, when we look at a Bible definition of persecution, we find that it's when faithful, righteous people follow and stand for God's absolute truth, then suffer oppression from those who deny and reject that truth. It's also a form of testing of our faithfulness to God, just like with Job. Now, Christ said, "If the world hates you, it hated me before it hated you. If you were of the world would love you. But because you are not of the world hates you. Remember the word that I have said, if they persecuted me, they will persecute you. If they kept my word, they will also keep yours. These things they will do to you on account of my name, because they do not know me." John 15 and verse 18. Peter said, "If anyone speaks, let him speak as the oracles or the words of God, with the ability which God supplies, that God may be glorified. Do not think it strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, but rejoice that you partake of Christ's sufferings, that you may be glad with exceeding joy if you are reproached for the name of Christ. Blessed are you, for the Spirit of God rests upon you. But let none of you suffer as an evildoer. Yet if anyone suffers as a Christian, let him not be ashamed, but glorify God." 1 Peter 4, verses 11 through 16. Yes, Paul says that all who desire to live godly in Christ Jesus will suffer persecution. And there's no biblical evidence that we should explicitly pray for persecution, but as we desire and strive to be like Christ, there is biblical evidence that we should expect persecution and should even rejoice when it comes to us. And to be abundantly clear, just like any behavior or act of unrighteousness or wickedness, the perpetrators of persecution are not and never will be justified in what they do. And thankfully, we can all take comfort in the fact that God will never allow us to be tempted or tried beyond what He knows we are able to bear. Friends, we thank you for joining us for our program today, and may God bless you with a wonderful day.